Okay, let's talk about One Piece. Hi everybody, welcome to Wine Piece, where it's me, it's John, and I'm gonna recap One Piece for you, and what better way to pass the time than by drinking some wine. Oh my god, straight to my head. I didn't think one glass would do that. Oh my god. Anyway, let's start off. Let's jump into it. So, some people are going to be mad with this decision, but I am much more familiar with the anime than I am the manga. I do read the manga weekly, as you can tell by our Opum series. But that being said, I started in the anime. All this like chapter 0, chapter 1 stuff. I'm going by anime episodes here. That's my preference. So, first things first. Shout out to the theme song. A lot of people say not quite as good as Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, Pokemon's got an awesome theme song. Probably the most iconic thing out of the 90s. But the One Piece theme is a freaking bop, and it slaps, and it's actually relevant to the show. So good on them. But jumping into it, episode 1, we're on a ship, and then there's a barrel, and Luffy comes out of the barrel, and he's like, "Hi, Kobe. I'm gonna be king of the pirates." And Kobe's like, Alvida's a problem. And Luffy's just like, "Not that big a deal. I'm gonna hit a woman now." And then he does that, and she goes away for at least a little while. And then, we get off that boat. Now we're on a different boat. And, that boat's gonna take us over to Shellstown, where we are gonna meet Helmeppo and Roro Noah Zoro, as well as a little girl and a man with an axe for a hand. Can we talk about him at some point, please? Like what up with that axe hand, though? Anywho, so we get there, and Zoro's tied up because he beat up a dog to stop a girl from being executed, and Helmeppo was like, "I'm gonna tie you up." And he does that, and then Zoro's got to hang out there for 30 days, except he's going to be executed. And Luffy's like, "Don't worry, dog, I'll get you out of here, like, real good, like." So Luffy does that, and he gives him back his swords, and they stop Helmeppo, and they beat up Axehand Morgan. And they leave Kobe on the island. They fight him real quick. They beat the living crap out of this kid for no apparent reason, and then they just leave him on the island, and we'll come back to Kobe. He's doing all right. He's doing things. He's got stuff going on. Okay, but so now we've got Zoro. He's indebted to Luffy, so they're gonna sail until they come across a large bird Luffy attempts to consume. The bird places Uno reverse guard, though, and chomps Luffy right in the skin. Carries him off to Orange Town, and Zoro catches up to him in the boat. And we're over at Orange Town now, where we're introduced to Nami in the manga, I guess, but she's made various appearances in the anime. And then while we're there, she's like, "Oh, hi, boss. Beat up these guys." And Luffy's like, "Beat up some guys? I can do that." And then he does that. And he's like, "Nami, you should join my crew." And she's like, "No, but I'll sell you to Buggy." And then she does that, and she pretends to join Buggy's crew to get a map of the Grand Line. Oh. And then Buggy's like, "You gotta blow him up." And Nami's like, "Man, kind of like this guy. Don't want to blow him up as much as you want me to." So she's like, "I'm not gonna blow him up." And Buggy's like, "I knew it. I'm gonna get you." And then Zoro's like, "No, you're not, because I have swords." And then he uses his swords to stop Buggy, but it's all a ruse. Because Buggy, this man, has the powers of the Chop Chop fruit. so he can't be cut up by no swords. And so Zoro thinks he's chopped him good. Like, literally, Zoro just thinks he has cut a man into pieces. That's cold-blooded for number 1. And then for number 2, Buggy's like, I'm gonna stab you in the back right now. So I'm gonna take a quick detour and talk about this great fucking theory I have. So I firmly believe Buggy is gonna be Zoro's final enemy of the series. Like, I think we beat Mihawk, we're the greatest swordsman, right? Sure. You know, we beat Venus, Juro, whatever. We get the Kitetsu, okay, why not, maybe. And then, what, like his famous line is, scars on the back are a swordsman's shame, and Buggy is the only man to ever have scarred Zoro's back, and he's immune to being cut. I think Zoro needs to somehow beat Buggy, the only man who's ever both shamed him and is immune to his attacks, and then Zoro's story will be complete. Like, he is the best. Moving on is, okay, so, and then Zoro's like, oh man, my back is bleeding a lot. I'm gonna carry Luffy away in a cage. Luffy's in a cage also. And we go away then to where we meet a dog who's a very sad dog. But this dog, his owner was like, I'm going to the doctor, Shoo Shoo, and you're a very good boy and I'll be back. And then he isn't back because he's dead. And the dog is like, I'm gonna keep the pet food shop okay while you're gone. And he's based off a different dog that did a similar thing in real life. It's so heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. But the dog is waiting for his owner to come back, who never does. And he thinks Luffy and Zoro are trying to take his dog food, so he attacks him. And Luffy's like, this dog's got a treasure. I respect this dog now. And then the dog gets beat up by a lion, so Luffy beats up the lion. And then there's a guy on a unicycle and Zoro beats him up. And then we have to fight Buggy. And Buggy tells us, like, I know who Shanks is. And then Luffy kicks him in the nuts. And that's about that. So now Buggy doesn't have a torso and he's gonna go on a quest to get that back. And also Nami's gonna come with us now, but she's not really like part of the crew. She's just hanging out. So then it's off to Syrup Village, and in Syrup Village, so we land there, right? Like, get that, and then there's this guy, and he's like, I'm Captain Usopp, I've got over 8,000 men! And Luffy's like, whoa, that's so cool, I'm gonna kick your ass. And Usopp's like, dang, rats. And Luffy's like, I know your dad. And Usopp's like, how? And Luffy's like, well, I hung out with him in bars a lot when I was a kid. And at some point in all this, we got the Shanks flashback where they're hanging out in a bar and then they beat up some guys and then Shanks' arm falls off. Pretty good. One of those guys was Usopp's dad, apparently. And then Usopp's like, wow, that's so cool. And then they go out to lunch with him and Usopp goes away, and then his kid friends show up and they're like, give us back our captain. And Zoro's like, we ate him. And the kids are like, dang. And then they faint, maybe? I don't heckin' know. But we go from there. Usopp is a liar and he runs around town always like, oh, the pirates are coming, the pirates are coming. And they're never coming, and they've never come. And he goes over to Kaya, and she's a rich girl. Na 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 na. And what? Then he lies to her, and he's like, I fought a goldfish. He was 1,000 feet long, and he just tells her fantastical lies. And she knows they're lies, but she's like, I like that you tell me stories. Come sit at my window and tell me stories. And she's got a butler who's a jerk. And he's like, Usopp, you're poor and your dad was also poor and you suck because of that. And then she's got another butler who's a sheep and he's aight. But then Usopp finds out the jerk butler is a pirate. And the pirate's like, you can tell everybody you want to, but no one's gonna believe you because you're a dang dirty liar. And then he goes and he tells everyone, and they're like, shut up, dude, he's a cool guy. And Usopp's like, heck, now in this fairy tale island, I, the boy who cried wolf, must also be the pirate I've lied about being. And then Luffy and the gang are like, yo, dude, I love committing wanton murder on nameless characters. We will assist you. So they do that, except... So then they set up a bunch of traps, like some oil spills, and those spiky things, what are they called, like cow tarps? Cow traps? I don't know. Cow tails? I could go for a cow tail. So they set up a bunch of those, and they're waiting for the pirates to arrive, and they're like, wait just a gosh dang minute. We're at the wrong side of the island is what the problem is. So Luffy runs to the other side of the island. He's like, I just gotta run straight north. And for Luffy, north, he's like, isn't north just straight ahead, and he runs just the wrong way. And then Zoro, he's trapped at the bottom of the oil, and he can't get up the oil, and then he's about to, but Nami jumps on him and gets over the oil instead. And Usopp is also able to get there. So Usopp and Nami are there without either of the fighters, and they're just like, dang. And then they have to fight the pirates for a while, and they do surprisingly well. You know, Usopp's got his tricks up his sleeve. Nami is also there. I don't want to be this drunk. It's 20%. I bought fortified wine. Who then? So we're fighting the pirates, and the pirates, they start to gain the upper hand. It's like, heck, man, how are we gonna stop these fools? And then here comes Luffy and Zoro, and it's like, guess what, guys? We're gonna beat them up now. And then they do that. And it's going pretty dang well. Like all things considered, Luffy and Zoro, they're slugging heads, and they're kicking ass and taking names. Until you get my boys, the one, the only Meowban brothers. Okay, they show up now. And their whole thing is like they're pretty gosh dang fast. So they steal Zoro's swords, except the one of them. I don't remember which one. And they're like, heck man, we'll beat you now that you don't have all your swords. And Zoro's like, one sword style, not my forte, but bring it on, you sons of guns. So then he does that, and he fights him with just the one sword. And he's not winning, but he's holding his own pretty well. And Usopp's like, I'm gonna heckin' shoot them from afar. And then he does that, and Zoro steps in the way, and he's like, he gets shot in the back now, just with a slingshot though, and he's like, don't you heckin' do that, my guy, cause then they'll kill you as well as me. This is my fight, you just worry about yourself over there, my dude. And, then Zoro proceeds to win against the two of those guys, and Luffy, and it's time for him to fight the Catman himself, Captain Kuro. And Kuro, he does the pussyfoot technique out of the back attack, whatever it's called. And he moves so fast, that you can't see him, but he also can't control himself, so he just kills whoever he comes across. He starts killing a bunch of his own men, and Luffy's like, hey man, that ain't I. So, you know, Luffy can't hit him, and he can't stop him, but he's like, I'm gonna hit you, and I'm gonna stop you. And that's just how it is. So Kuro's like, Django, my guy, go into the forest and hypnotize the rich girl into giving me all of her money. And Django, who's also been here the whole time, is like, okay. So then Usopp's like, the Usopp pirates, my children, my boys, don't let that exact thing happen. And they're like, okay. Yeah. So that whole scene's playing out like in the woods. You know, we'll get back to that. And Nami is somewhere doing presumably not much. And then Luffy's like, you know what, Catman? I'm just gonna hit you really hard. And then he does that. And then Zoro is like, hey, hypnotist guy, I'm gonna cut this tree branch. And the hypnotist guy is like, joke's on you, guy, I'm not that tree, it turns out. And then Usopp is like, joke's on you, guy, because I'm actually behind that tree branch, and now I got a clean shot at you. And then he says, I'm gonna shoot you. And then he does that. And that story arc is resolved, where she doesn't give the pirates all of her money. And then Luffy also beats the Catman, so that story arc is resolved. And it's a good time to mention this guy faked his own death and hypnotized the man who would go on to beat Axan Morgan into thinking he captured the Catman guy. And that's why he thinks he's so great. He's like, oh, Axan Morgan, and I'm so great. It's because this guy hypnotized him. So he's also a pitiable character. No, it's not his fault. But now they're defeated. And this entire fight took place in the forest and on this one beach. So the entire village still thinks Usopp is just a liar. And Usopp's like, yo, dog, we gotta let them believe that. Because if they don't, they'll realize that they actually got attacked by pirates. And it's all okay now, so, you know, just gaslight them. And it's a good gaslighting. This is gaslighting you'd want to be lit by. If you were gas, you would prefer to be lit right now. It's a very sweet moment. And then you got Luffy and his gang, and they're like, well, we're gonna go now. And then Kaya, the rich girl, and her sheep butler are like, bro, you gotta see this, man. We're gonna give you a boat is what's gonna happen. And then they do that, and the boat has a sheep head for a ship head, and the boat's name is the Going Merry, and she's goddamned precious. And I'm sorry for swearing, but man, it's not even the alcohol. I cry for the Going Merry. I love the Sunny. We are on the Sunny. We sail on the Sunny. I don't reject the Sunny. I love the Going Merry. She is just perfect in every regard. She gets us as far as she can go, and then even further. She's a member of the... Right now, we have been gifted the Going Merry, and that's all we need to work with. So we've got the Merry, and we move on. And in the middle of the gosh dang ocean on this new ship. Oh, one sec, that hit. Oh. Hey everybody, it's John from Obscure Reference. Austin wants us to start including these end cards at the end of our videos, and that in these end cards I'm supposed to tell you to click here to subscribe, and click over here for another one of our delightful videos. Some things he didn't tell me to do include this, and this.